Anytime I've had a crush on someone, it was based on ignorance. I did not know that person. It was just the idea I was in love with. How many times have you had a crush on someone and you really thought that this was the person for you? You put their last name on your first name and you started to imagine and picture what your children look like. But the gag is you don't even know the person.
It's true. The woman's attraction is based on not knowing who you are, because not knowing who you are allows her to fantasize about you. Not knowing who you are is exciting. It allows her to role play with you. It allows her to use her imagination with you. And it's the closest that you will ever be to a 10 in the woman's psyche. The player understands this better than everybody else. And because of this, the player is able to keep himself as close to a 10 as possible within the woman's psyche. We're going to listen to the rest of the video and then I'm going to give you elite game guys.
And one thing I realized about having a crush on someone is that it's never about the person. It's always about our fantasy about them and who we think they are. And the one way to kill a crush is to get to know the person, become friends with them, and you will see that you are 100% not compatible with this person. You just like the idea of them. And everybody looks good from afar. It's only when you actually get to know a person that you really see who they are.
Okay, so there are 3 stages of the woman's infatuation of you, of the woman's objectification of you, that you need to learn how to overcome. How you deal with the woman's infatuation will completely determine whether she pursues you, controls you, or avoids you at the end of this process. You as a man have a choice to either make the woman's infatuation work for you or against you, and it all comes down to understanding the woman's relationship with reality.
And I don't mean to sound mean because we've all been there before, but if you are constantly finding yourself having crush after crush after crush, there's work to be done because you're not actually living in the real world. You're not living in reality, and you do need to sober up and you do need a reality check. You should not be crushing on someone at 30 and 40 years old, not even at 20. We cannot love the idea of a person more than the person themselves.
Most women are dualistic, so this means that they believe in 2 worlds, often opposing and conflicting worlds. And this stands across pretty much every context I can think of. So you've got the material world and you've got the immaterial world, what is known and what is unknown, the masculine and the feminine, for example. As a man, when you enter into an intersexual dynamic with a woman, you literally have the choice whether to step into her fantasy world or her reality world. The successful player is a man, usually a highly empathetic man, who strictly only operates with women in the fantasy. The player is one of the small percentages of men who actually give women what they want, which is something to role play with, something she can use her imagination with, something she can experience romance with, and more than anything else, the player offers the woman escapism from the mundaneness of her reality. Women are fearful and anxiety-ridden beings. This means they're not really enjoying reality that much, guys. They don't like being a woman. They think they've got the short end of the stick. So they don't like the roles, the patriarchy arcs of them. They don't even like the roles, nature arcs of them. And so a lot of women, they're very defiant against what is expected of them. You know, they don't like the fact that they have to make a lot of sacrifices. Most women can't even accept the truths about themselves. So fellas, what makes you think that they're going to accept the truth about who you are? To the woman, reality is an ick, and they prefer to spend as least time here as possible. Many of the women you deal with, their lives look something like this. They literally have a life where they have forced their fantasy upon their reality, and this is the reason why women suffer with cognitive dissonance, guys. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the 3 stages when it comes to overcoming the woman's infatuation. You need to learn how to handle her infatuation. You got to learn how to navigate through her infatuation. You got to learn how to overcome her infatuation. And you also need to learn how to leverage her infatuation against her. All right, so stage one. When a woman doesn't know you, but she's attracted to you, you're a 10. This is the most excited she's going to be in this journey. It's the woman's infatuation that makes her for the streets. You know, like what's the thing that people say? She's for the streets, or it was just your turn. This is facts, right? A lot less to do with I don't know, that she's low value. A lot more to do with the fact that this is how the woman's emotions burn. It burns. The woman's emotion is like a big flame. And when she first meets you, this is as bright as that flame can burn. And naturally, as time goes on, as she gets to know who you are, this flame will begin to burn out. One of the reasons why when the woman gets to know who you are, she's less attracted to you is because she's a disqualifier, guys. I'll say that again. One of the reasons why as a woman gets to know who you are, she's less attracted to you is because she is a disqualifier by nature, fellas. All right, so when a woman says, let's get to know each other, you need to understand that you need to see that as a challenge, or depending on who you are, you need to be concerned. Because she's trying to take herself out of the fantasy and into the reality, whether she knows it or not. Everything the woman does in your relationship is to burn her flame out as quickly as possible. I'll say that again. Everything the woman does when you're in the intersexual dynamic with a woman is to burn this flame out as quickly as possible, whether she knows it or not. The amount of time that she wants to see you, if the woman, when she's infatuated with you and fully immersed in the experience of you, she would want to see you every day. She would want to talk to you every day. She would want you to do all these grand gestures of her every day. She would want you to validate her every day, approve of her every day. She will want you to never make her feel insecure. Everything the woman wants, if you listen to the woman, you're going to take her out of her excited, sympathetic state, and you're going to keep her in her inhibited parasympathetic state. This is specifically where there is no romance for the woman. There is nothing on this side that she enjoys. When a woman is dealing with a man on this side, she is entirely pragmatic. So unconsciously, we all know that the woman is like a fire who is hell bent on burning out. And we all unconsciously understand as men that we need to add wood to the flame in order to keep it burning. But how the majority of you guys, the nice guys, 80% of men add wood to the flame is wrong. You guys, I don't know what wood you guys add to the flame, but you guys make women burn out incredibly fast. So, as I said, let me give you some examples of what you do and what the player does. All right, what you guys do. You guys are very, very concerned with providing the woman with consistency, with reliability, with predictability. You guys will never make a woman feel insecure. You guys do everything to make sure the woman never feels insecure. You do everything to, you want to show this woman how much you like them. You guys, in fact, the way you guys add wood to the flame, you guys speed up the process of the woman not liking you, because how you add wood to the flame is through being uncertain with the woman. It's through being unpredictable with the woman. It's through occasionally making the woman feel insecure. It's through being inconsistent with the woman. It's through being unreliable with the woman. The woman only truly thinks she knows who you are when you display certainty, predictability, and consistency. So it doesn't matter how honest you are with a woman. If you are not certain, predictable, consistent, too reliable, all of those things, then the woman will always feel like she doesn't know who you are. You will trap the woman between stage 1 and stage 2. This is what the player does. For as long as possible, your uncertainty makes her not confident in understanding who you are. So she's always stuck between who she thinks you are and figuring out who you are, only to go backwards. The woman's idea of who she thinks you are will always be more attractive than the reality of who you are. The reality in general is quite boring. At the end of the day, you're a male mammal with your own feelings, you're sentient, blah, 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 blah. The reality of you is so much more boring than the fantasy of you in the woman's eyes. All right. So her kind of what you want the woman to do, you want the woman to spend as much time with you in the fantasy as possible, right? Till she gets to the point to where she starts to seduce herself out of the fantasy and into reality. But she needs to spend time with you as a figment in her imagination. So what the player understands is that the woman actually falls in love with his uncertainty, right? And then his certainty works to validate her and offer relief. The player understands that the woman falls in love with his absence, because this is where she gets to use her imagination and role play with him and actually connect with the idea of who he is, which is so much more appealing than the reality of who you are. The player gives the woman so much time to do that, right? So the player understands that the woman falls in love with his absence and that his presence validates her and offers relief, okay? The player understands that the woman falls in love with his coldness, right? And his warmth provides relief and validation and approval. All right. So the woman falls in love with his absence, right? Because that's when she gets to spend the most amount of time with the version of him she wants to, and then it's his presence, it's his warmth, it's his consistency, his reliability. These things have to be strategized, because these things are not what she falls in love with. This is what provides her with relief, validation, and approval. The woman wants to spend time with the idea of who she thinks you are. Because, as I said, who you are isn't actually important. The woman will be happy enough to know that, I'll use me as an example, that, oh, he's tall, he's black, and he's handsome. That's enough. She doesn't need anything else. Her imagination can do the rest. All right. And you in the fantasy, you're just better than what you are in the reality, because in the woman's fantasy, the woman has a nirvana fallacy. Everything is perfect, including herself in the fantasy. And so are you, if you're there. Right. That's why when a woman gets to know you, right, she will go. So stage one is when she's immersed in the experience of you. Stage two is when she has an immersion breaking experience. This is when she gets to know who you are, because who you are is never as good as who she thinks you are. So this is at this stage here, an ick and a turn off is simply when a woman discovers an aspect of reality that goes against the fantasy. I'll say that again. An ick and a turn off is simply when a woman discovers an aspect of reality that goes against the fantasy. And this aspect of reality she's discovered has completely stopped her ability to role play with you. It's completely stopped her ability to fill in that missing piece of information with her own imagination, because now she knows who you are. This is like the cross section. This is where she's experiencing confusion and cognitive dissonance. Okay, so the fire is not as small as it can be. It's kind of there because she's in the crossroads of her immersion. So this is when the woman experiences her immersion breaking experience. Now, for normal guys, at this part, when the woman finds out who you are, it's always an ick. But for the player, at this point, when the woman discovers who you are, this is when the woman is like, wait, hold on. Is he a player? I'm enjoying this way too much. I'm falling in love with him. Is he doing this with just me, or is he doing this with 6 other women? The player's stage 2 works in his favor, because the player gives the woman a long stage 1. And here's a key aspect as well. The player, because of how the player behaves, the woman will begin to seduce herself out of the fantasy and into reality herself. And as I said, this is when she comes to the realization, wait, is he a player or something? Am I being used here? So, as I said, the player keeps the woman oscillating between 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, keeping them here. To the player wants to keep the woman in fantasy forever. When I'm dealing with women, I want to keep them there forever. But my rotations usually last a year and a half. I would say if I can keep a woman on a rotation for a year and a half, I'm doing very, very well. Because it's not so long that you can keep a woman here. At some point, she is going to seduce herself into reality with you. All right. And so this is stage 3. Stage 3 is where you are going. So, okay, let's not use the player. Let's use a normal guy, for example, here. So she thinks you're better than what you are because she's really in love with her own fantasy, and she's using you as a conduit in order to connect to her own fantasy. And most men do a bad job here because you don't give her enough time to fall in love with the concept of you, the idea of you, because you always want to see her. You're sending her pictures. You're just neeks, innit? So you just want hugs and kisses all the time, innit? So you ruin her ability to be able to do that, which breaks her immersion. All right, that's her immersion breaking experience, and this is always broken when based on your behavior. So you'll begin to give her cognitive dissonance. This kind of stops her excitement and it moves her towards a more of an inhibited state. All right, so from here, depending on if you're still valuable after you've broken her illusions, it will depend on whether she pursues you, controls you, or avoids you. If you really give her an ick, and then she really turn her off and she sees no value in you, or maybe there's another man that she's just interested in, she'll avoid you. You know, she'll stop speaking to you. But if there's still value in you after you've given her the ick, she'll control you. But one thing she definitely won't do, she won't pursue you. All right. Now, let's use the player for an example. The player who has been adding wood to the fire and keeping the flame high. This is going to make the woman start getting suspicious because she's going to be like, wait, hold on. I'm way too excited. There's way too much chemistry. I'm way too wet for this guy. He's so good at what he's doing, right? She's going to begin to have her own inhibitions, and she's going to begin to want to start to get to know you in the reality. She's going to want to stop you coming around her house at 9. She's going to want to stop you coming around and always getting her high, always drinking with her, always having fun with her. At some point, she's going to realize she's having way too much fun, and what goes up must come down. So she's going to start seducing herself out of the fantasy to establish some type of reality with you. And so with the player, after she has an immersion breaking experience, so when the reality pops her fantasy bubble, right, and she realizes, wait, I'm having too much fun, where is he going? Guys, like, follow, sign up for the one-on-one coach and support the channel. I'm giving you fire and I'm not finished yet. All right. So stage 3, where are you going? The player, where are you going? So she's come to terms with the fact that you're a living, breathing, sentient individual of a man. Yuck, boring, whatever. Well, boring if you are a normal guy, but, you know, anxiety provoking if you're a player. All right. So she's come to here now. So now she's out of the fantasy. She's in reality. Where are you going? She's not that interested in you still. She just wants to know where you're going. The best way to conceptualize this is, are you taking steps away from her or are you taking steps towards her? Fellas, I'm a fucking genius, innit? Honestly, support the channel. Are you taking steps towards her or are you taking steps away from her? As I said, if you're taking steps away from her, then she will pursue you. Only the player is taking steps away from her. All right. So when she realizes, when she comes out of the fantasy and she's like, wait, hold on, what's actually going on and where are you actually going? Right. She's going to realize that the player will leave her one day because of his actions and his behaviors, because of his lifestyle, because of his character. Right. And that's going to incentivize her and compel her to pursue that man. All right. If you're a normal guy and the immersion breaking experience was an ick, then you're always taking steps towards her. She will either avoid you or she will control you from this place, if that makes sense. When a woman is pursuing the man, she's very much, at this point, when a woman is pursuing the man, she is very much in reality. Still, she's not really enjoying this that much. She doesn't really enjoy chasing the men, but she's compelled to do so. She has seduced herself out of the fantasy herself and put herself in the reality. She wants to establish some type of reality with this man. This is where the woman will grow and develop and become a better person, when she's actually pursuing a man in reality. All right. Usually the man here will not enable her behaviors. The man here will really, really, really make her have to change because she wouldn't be good enough to be his actual main woman or girlfriend. And on the flip side of that, if you're a guy and she's not pursuing you, she's controlling you, As I said, the flame is very, very small. She's dealing with you from her parasympathetic place, and eventually she will be dysregulated, and she's going to go back into her excited state. And the chances of her doing that with you is very, very slim. She will seek a new, novel, exciting potential with a new man that she doesn't know. All right, so yeah, it's not my best video. If you guys want me to expand upon this, I will do. I'll make more videos with this. If you guys want me to go a bit more into how, you know, the two worlds women live in, always remember I'm generalizing, actually. All right, these bodies of works that I make for you guys, it's a generalization. I'm giving you guys mental models. I'm giving you guys schemas that you're supposed to use to help you when you're dealing with women. All right, this isn't a political page. I don't give a crap about that stuff. All right, this is just game that can help you or not. Guys, leave a comment, sign up for one-on-one coaching.
God is not telling you that is your husband. It's just infatuation.